I am Jeff Leisawitz, author of the book Not Effing Around, the No Bullshit Guide for Getting Your Creative Dreams Off the Ground. So we're all trying to get our creative dreams off the ground, trying to make this thing happen. I am a screenwriter as well as a filmmaker, musician, award-winning musician. I'm a teacher, life coach, practice something called NLP, neuro-linguistic repatterning, that helps people untangle their subconscious blocks to really kick ass in the world. And I also work for Brown Paper Tickets here in Seattle, where we empower all kinds of creative types to ticket their events and promote their events. So you might want to check that out. But enough about me. Why are we doing the 7 questions of creativity? It's because the best way to learn something, learn how to do something, is to talk to people who are doing it, right? So today we are going to speak to amazing Angela Bourassa. Did I say that right?
Not quite, but it's close enough.
Okay, close enough. So here is Angela's bio, right? Angela Bourassa is the founder and editor-in-chief of LA Screenwriter, which you guys should check out if you haven't done that already. A top online resource for aspiring and working screenwriters alike. A UCLA grad, she's the head judge of LA Screenwriters Logline Competition, a freelance writer, and a comedy screenwriter. Her son is about to turn 1, and amidst her other writing projects, she's currently working on a straight talk memoir about becoming a mom. So thank you, Angela, and here we are. We're going live, right?
Here we are.
Here we are. So thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Okay, so one more thing before we kick into this. Also, you guys, down at the bottom, there's a little thing that says Q&A, right? If you see that, if you tap on that, that is where you can ask questions to Angela. So you can just write those in there and we'll save them towards the end. But if something comes up and you think about it, you want to check it out, go for it, write a question, and hopefully we will get to it at the end. Okay, so Angela,
Yes.
What is your creative mission?
My creative mission, wow, that's a loaded question. But I'd say my creative mission is to write stories that are honest and that represent people the way they really are. And in particular, I like writing stories that feature strong female characters. That's really important to me because obviously there's a dearth of those at the moment. It's becoming more prominent today, or at least there's more coverage of strong female characters, but we still need a lot more of them out there. So that's what I try and focus on with my writing.
Why is that important? All those things you mentioned. Yeah.
Sure. Well, because if you look at the studies, which USC puts out an annual study about representation in film, it's white men who are getting basically all of the best parts and all the speaking roles in film and television. Women are getting some more roles, but it's tapered even since like 2005. It hasn't really gone up. And minorities also really are represented as token figures. They're side characters. They're not featuring prominently in any of our stories. And we as a nation and as a world, we're not, all white men. There's a lot of different people who have a lot of different voices. So I think it's really important that, we reflect that in our media so people can see themselves and, be inspired and be motivated to, be the heroes in their own lives. That sounded really cheesy, but
it sounds cheesy, but it's totally true.
Right, yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we are the characters, obviously, in our lives. And you might as well be the hero in your story, because if you're not, you're in trouble. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So the second question of creativity. What do you love about what you do?
I love that it gives me freedom, for one thing. I get to work from home as a writer, which I think is a really glorious thing. I got to raise my son and work full-time as a full-time mom and a full-time writer, which was really great for his first year. It got a little bit overwhelming, so he started daycare this week. But that's something that was really important to me. I also love that it just lets me express myself. As an introvert, I really don't speak out very often in big groups or in public. So writing is my method of sharing my thoughts with the world. And I do that, through my scripts, but also through, short humor pieces, through this memoir that I'm working on. I think all different types of writing can really be important for expressing, how you feel about the world.
Absolutely. Very cool. Thank you for that answer. Now, screenwriting, among really pretty much all of the creative fields,
Hmm.
It's got to be up there as one of the toughest gigs going. And
Absolutely.
maybe that and like professional poet.
Yeah, that might be harder.
That might be harder, but I actually know two professional poets.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. So, what have you learned from your successes and your failures moving through this career, like doing this? What have you learned?
A few things. I've learned that there are a lot more failures than there are successes, and that that's okay. You have to expect to fail quite a bit as a creative type in any field, because there's not enough demand for creative voices. So you have to really be willing to keep putting yourself out there over and over and over and over again until someone is ready to listen to what you have to say, whatever medium you use. I've also definitely learned that the successes take a lot of hard work. It's not just, failing, it's failing and learning from those failures, because you have to really be willing to put in the 10,000 or 100,000 hours, whatever Macklemore says it is, to get to that point where you're actually going to be at the level you need to be. Talent isn't enough. Having, a creative will isn't enough. You have to actually do the hard work and keep doing it for a long time.
That's true. And that's something that I think it's really easy for people to forget. It seems like, oh, maybe there's this big paycheck at the end of the day,
Right.
or, I'll get my big break or this or that. But the truth is, you have to write many screenplays and fail along the way many times before you're even really ready to step into the professional arena.
Absolutely. I have so many people on LA Screenwriter say, I've written a script, how do I sell it? And it's like, well, you don't. Like, you're probably not going to sell that script ever. You might sell your second, maybe, but probably more likely you'll sell your sixth or eighth or 12th if you get to that point. And you got to really put in the work again to get to that point.
And how long would you say it takes somebody, like, okay, say 4 or 5 scripts, over how much time before you've seen in your experience, your friends or peers, before they actually sell something?
Right. Well, I mean, it varies a lot from person to person. Lee Jessup, who is a great screenwriting coach, she likes to say that it takes at least 3 years after you've found your voice. So once you've actually gotten to the point where you are at a professional level, it still takes 3 years for someone to get a hold of the script and be the right person and have that lucky moment, where everything connects and you actually get something sold. Because there is also a lot of luck, knowing the right people helps, networking helps, but you have to have the skill first. And then from there, you can start thinking about, okay, now how do I get this to a manager? How do I get it to an agent? How do I get it in the right hands?
Interesting. So one of the things that you said in there was 3 years after you find your voice.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, what does that mean?
Well, I mean, we all have our own unique voice in our writing. And if we don't, that's a problem because you're going to get lost in a big sea of scripts that is just getting deeper and deeper every year. You have to really show that you have something unique to say. And you can use, kind of tried and true formats and boy meets girl stories and, things that have been done before, but you have to bring your own twist to it, your own authenticity. Otherwise, it's not going to resonate with anyone. So if you look at shows like, for example, say Glow, like it's a sports show. That's not necessarily a new thing, but they found these unique female characters in this unique sporting world. And that's what really makes that resonate with people. It's something different. It's something with a strong, independent voice.
Great. So big tip, find your voice before you even try to sell freaking script, right? Yeah. Very good. Thank you. So next question here. How do you push ahead after a difficult challenge, right? I mean, sometimes we get this stuff where we're so psyched for that script.
Sure.
And we worked on it for, I don't know, 2 years or something. We've got all this feedback. It's ready to go. Here's your big break. Bam, shot down. How do you move forward past difficult challenges?
It's really hard. I mean, especially in screenwriting, disappointment can come in a lot of different forms. Maybe you've written something that really is remarkable, but then another movie exactly like it comes out that summer, and it's just, that makes your script dead. And all of that work just, is, you got to put it away, which is really hard a lot of the time. But I think the way to get past it is first and foremost to believe in yourself and know that you will get there eventually, if you keep working and pushing hard. I mean, to be a writer, you have to be an ego. There's a great quote that I'm going to mess it up, but someone said that you have to be a narcissistic, what was it? Oh, it was so good. But to be a writer, you have to be a narcissist and like hate yourself at the same time. But the whole idea is basically you have to know that you're good enough and not let anyone telling you otherwise bring you down. So I think in the hardest moments, the way you remember that is surrounding yourself with people who believe in you. I think that's a really core part of it. Just having a good group of people who know that this is what you really want to do. It's not just a hobby, and are there to say, get up, write the next one, keep pushing. I think that's really important.
That really is true. And you talked a little bit about almost the ratio between successes and failures. Just a ballpark. What would you say that ratio is? How many people do you have to contact before somebody will read it? How many people have to read it before somebody's interested? How many interested parties before, what's that look like?
It's not good. I mean, it also depends on where you're at. If you've just written your first script and you're trying to pitch it to everyone you meet, you might not get any yeses. You might have everyone say no to that. If you do manage to get it in some readers' hands, they're almost certainly going to find some issues with the structure or the pacing or something that you just haven't quite mastered yet. Once you have written something that's really great, you still have to find someone who is looking for something like that, and who appreciates your unique perspective. So then, hopefully the ratio comes down quite a bit. And, it depends on, the more known you become, the better your odds get. But if you're trying to make that first sale, I would guess that the odds are something like 99-1, 99 no's for every one yes.
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, you sort of don't want to think of it like this, but it almost sounds like cold calling, right? I mean, if you're selling anything and you're cold calling, prospects, it kind of is 99 before you get one.
Right.
So it's just harder because you put so many hours and so much love and sweat and blood into this thing.
The good news, though, is the further along you get, the more people you get who believe in you, who maybe they're not the right producer or they're not the right agent, but they'll help pass it along to people that they know. So you don't have to be the one making those 99 calls, quote unquote calls, because more and more people are going to be in your corner trying to push you forward. So that is the benefit of moving along in your career and making more network connections.
Very good. So network is huge.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay, so this question digs in a little bit to our primary networks, and the question is, have you ever encountered resistance from family or friends or people that you do love and trust, and how do you deal with that?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I've definitely gotten the, oh, you want to be a screenwriter? That's great. But what do you actually want to do? It's like, there's a lot of people out there who it's so foreign to them, the idea of being a creative and not having a 9-to-5 job, that they just don't think it's even possible. So it almost seems laughable, not necessarily because they don't believe in you, but they just don't believe anyone could do it. It's just not a reasonable thing to do. And it's true, it's not reasonable to be a screenwriter. Who would do that? It's crazy. But you got to just find a way to prove them wrong by, again, putting in that work and showing that you are dedicated. It's not just the thing you do on the weekends or something you do, as your little hobby. It's something you're actually really trying to do. And hopefully those people will come around. And if they don't, you got to find a way to just kind of shut those voices out and focus on the people who really do have your back, whoever that might be.
It's true. And it's also interesting in my experience how people tend to come around after the fact.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, I knew you could do that. That was awesome. You rock. Okay, cool. Where was the love when I was, when I needed it? Yeah,
Right.
I mean, not that we don't need it then too, but and during the struggle part,
Sure.
we need it more, I think, than the success.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay, cool.
Need that ego too.
Yes, exactly. So we write screenplays and create all kinds of art for lots of reasons. But one of the reasons that I've found over the years is because it helps us to be seen, expressed, and healed. So my question to you
Mm-hmm.
is, how has your writing healed you?
Oh man. I think the thing that I've written that has healed me the most is this new memoir that I'm working on, which is not related to screenwriting. It's not cinematic in any way or even necessarily extraordinary. But it's been really important for me to put down in words these feelings and emotions about being a new mom that I hadn't seen expressed elsewhere. I feel like as a parent in particular and a mom, you see a lot of, oh, you can do it. Like it's the best thing that's ever going to happen to you. And lots of faux positivity that is just not helpful. So with this, I've been trying to be a lot more brutally honest about, you don't always love your baby right away and you don't always feel like it's the best thing that's ever happened to you. Sometimes you think maybe it's the worst mistake you ever made. But no one wants to say that. So I'm trying to find the courage to say these things that I don't see said because it's taboo in a lot of ways. But I think it's really important as artists to face the taboo and make it not taboo anymore. Let people open up that discussion. So that writing for me has been quite healing in just one, putting those emotions on paper and processing them that way. And two, just letting other people into my world through that writing.
That's huge. And it does take a huge amount of courage to really write about what you believe and what really affects you and what hurts you.
Right.
And I am sure that if you are feeling it as a new mom, there
Mm-hmm.
are those kinds of things. There are millions
Right.
of other women out there who have similar thoughts and really could use hearing it, because I think one of the things that we do as artists, as screenwriters, as writers, whatever, is we say things, we express things that other people just simply don't know how to do. They can't do it, right? I mean, it's like when you hear an amazing love song and it's like, oh, that's how I feel about
Right.
you, but I couldn't say it like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it does take a huge amount of courage, and it really is a gift, to humanity, to the world, to be a creative and have the courage to step out and do that kind of stuff, to do what's real for you. So thank you.
You're
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a new mom, right?
welcome.
But you get the idea. There are
Yeah.
plenty of them out there. Okay, so I don't know if I said this in the beginning. My book, it's called Not Effing Around, the No Bullshit Guide for Getting Your Creative Dreams Off the Ground. So, it's a lot of, getting your creative dreams off the ground, healing yourself through the process, stuff like that. But I want to know for you, what are your not effing around bullet points? Like, what steps would you recommend to writers to really want to kick some ass and get things moving?
Mm-hmm. I think first and foremost, it's just putting in the actual writing work, sitting down and writing every day. It's very, very hard. I've been guilty of not writing for weeks at a time, sometimes months at a time. But one thing that really helps me is actually Xing off the days. So I have a chain of days in a row that I see, okay, it's been 10 days. Now I can't break that chain or I've got to start over and I won't have, that streak. So even just little things like that are really helpful for pushing myself to put in the work every single day, because it really does take that much dedication. And that doesn't mean necessarily like writing a new scene or hitting a certain page count every day. It could be, brainstorming 5 new movie ideas. That's another thing with screenwriting in particular, putting in the work up front, not of writing actual scripts, but outlining and coming up with new ideas. Because the biggest mistake that I think screenwriters make is choosing bad ideas to write. Maybe they're okay ideas, pretty good ideas, but they have to be amazing ideas. So you have to really take the time to come up with 100 ideas and figure out what your top 3 are, and then maybe do an outline from there and then pick your best one. And it's tiring work. It takes a long time. It's very frustrating. But you have to sit down and go and do it. You can't just wait for aha moments because they don't come around that often. You have to make them come by putting yourself in front of your keyboard and, staring out the window and thinking about it, taking that time every day.
Good. Very good. Thank you. That's a great answer. So we've got a little bit of time left, and we've got a couple questions here on the Q&A.
Great.
Bob Woods, you are out there somewhere on the internet. My question to you, Bob, is I think if I click the right button, I can turn on your webcam so you can ask Angela this question yourself. So we're going to try that and see what happens. Okay, let's see what happens here.
Hope you're not in your underwear, Bob.
Yeah, right. I hope probably should ask that first. Okay, Bob. Oh, there you are. Good. So your mic is off on the bottom left. There's a little button there that says microphone. If you can turn that on, you should be live on the air, my man.
There you go. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I'll talk a little louder. As you can see from the picture, I am a senior, and I'm just curious. Always wanted to be a writer, did some stuff part-time, short stories, that kind of thing. I'm now retired. And the script that I've been working on for part-time for 3-4 years.
Oh.
Uh-oh, you froze up there, Bob. Uh-oh. Not quite sure what happened there. It looks like the internet went out. Well, let's just ask the question here.
Sure.
How about ageism in Hollywood? Bob is a senior, so what's the story on that, your perspective on that?
Sure. It's definitely an issue. I won't say it doesn't exist. There is ageism, there's sexism. It's harder if you're a minority. I think a lot of these problems are true across any industry. It's not just Hollywood, but it's also not insurmountable. Really, in Hollywood, what they want is a great story. So if you can actually write something that is at the level it needs to be, it's really professionally written, then that's going to open doors for you regardless of anything else. No one really cares. That's one of the great things about Hollywood in general. In California, you can be anybody here. Like, we're not judgmental. Like, you can do whatever you want, and people say, groovy, cool. So I think, yeah, again, if you just have something that you're really proud of, that you've put in the work, that's what's going to matter most of all.
Okay, thank you. Did you catch that, Bob? It looks like you're back online there.
Yes, you did cut away, but the last part that I did catch was encouraging, and I appreciate the answer.
Okay, thank you, Bob.
Great, thank you. We appreciate the question. Our other question on here is from an anonymous attendee. So it's a little difficult there to turn your camera on. So we'll just ask this one. How can I get my start in comedy writing when I live in and come from a small town?
Sure. Well, you can live anywhere and write comedy. Obviously, in comedy, it helps if you are doing stand-up or, performing improv. Those are great ways to get in the door, to get on shows or other things. But it's not necessary. And as long as you have an internet connection, you could be making YouTube videos and posting those and making a name for yourself that way. You can be anywhere and write a blog. If you have funny things to say, people can find them wherever you are in the world. And also use the fact that you're from a small town. Use that as the basis for your comedy. Find things that you find funny about the world around you and put that into what you're writing. That will give you your unique voice that is missing in Hollywood. There aren't a lot of things about funny people from small towns. So yeah, take it, use it, keep writing scripts. If you aren't here to network, there's contests, there's things like this where you can, not be anonymous and tell us your name, and we can, get connected.
Absolutely. That's a lot of really good points in there. The internet has opened things up tremendously for everyone, for access and resources and things like that. Another thing that you spoke about there is, you're from a small town. That's your experience. That is your voice. You're not really gonna be able to write a story about the urban experience if you've never experienced that. You just kind of can't do it. This is something that I'm actually talk a lot about in my upcoming screenwriter and storyteller online workshops, are gifts and perspectives. Like, what do we have, right? And what do we have to offer? Because that's really what we are all about. If you can tap into what's true for you, including your struggles and your challenges and your triumphs and things like that, that is going to have the most emotionally powerful voice. And at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to transmit emotion through our stories. So that said, I've got these webinars coming up, these workshops coming up. You guys will have access to that. I'm also going to be popping free chapters of the book online, so you guys can check that out, my book. Hopefully you'll dig that. Angela, what's going on over there? What can you tell these guys?
Well, I hope everyone will come visit LA Screenwriter. It's la-screenwriter.com. If you haven't already been there, there's lots of great resources for writers. We have new articles and interviews every week. We also have a great script database where you can find a lot of the latest movie and TV screenplays available for free online. You can download the PDFs. We also have a logline competition. So if you're working on a logline and you think it's pretty darn good, you can enter that. I give feedback on every logline that's entered, so you'll get a little bit of feedback even if you don't win. And we also I do logline consultations. So if you want direct logline feedback so that you're ready to pitch something or get a better sense of how your film idea is coming together, I really recommend sending that in before you even start writing the script, and I can help you workshop your idea. So all that is over at la-screenwriter.com.
And yes, fantastic resource. You got it going on over there. I love it. One more question. Like, what makes a great log line?
Oh gosh. One sentence, 30 to 35 words, very short, tight. Get in all of your core story elements. That's your main character, the catalyst, the challenge that they have to overcome, the big action that they take to overcome that catalyst challenge, and what stands in their way, the antagonist. Get those things into one clear, tight sentence, and you should have a pretty good logline.
Hell yeah on that. So what's so interesting about that, you clearly stated exactly the components to make a great logline, right? Mm-hmm. And yet it's so difficult.
It's so hard. It's so hard.
So I get this with my songwriting students. I teach songwriting at a college up here in Seattle. Mm-hmm. And I can tell them the same thing. Here's 10 elements. Here's exactly what you need to do to make the perfect pop song.
Right.
And it's so freaking hard. It seems so easy.
Right.
Right. So Angela, you're an asset to the world and the screenwriting community, and your website's fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, all you guys.
Look at that too.
Thank you. Out there online, thank you so much for being here. Hope you got some good value out of that and some good stuff. So we will be looking for you on the internet. So thanks a lot. Have a great day. Keep writing.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, bye-bye.